morning, good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are. Welcome, Pravin Bhai, to the ClariTea Chat.
Cheers.
Cheers. I hope you guys heard a faint sound of cups chattering with each other. Well, that was a joke. So, guys, welcome to the 114th edition of ClariTea Chat. Today we have with us Pravin Savant, a good friend and a group CTO of MullenLowe Global, as who's a part of the large MNC IPG Interpublic Group. IPG is a global provider of marketing solutions with approximately 57,000 employees in all major world markets. So IPG Group companies specialize in advertising, digital marketing, communications planning, media, public relations, and specialty marketing. I mean, as you can understand, it's service industry, a very high end of service industry, and therefore very, very digitally enabled business. So, Praveen Bhai, welcome to the session.
Thank you,
Um,
Jagdish.
yeah. So, his he has a he. It's not that he has an in experience only in advertising. He started from Cable Corporation, went to Gulf Oil, then Ballarpur Industries, then Godrej Group, and Star TV before joining IPG 14 years ago. Having started from shop floor operations, hand working in different industries, innovating in diverse areas in his 3 decades of professional journey, and as he likes to call from a shop floor to the New York boardroom, that's been his journey, and we will learn a lot from it today. He will also share experiences of his various e-business initiatives, supply chain management, very interestingly, setting up a dot-com venture, and now leading a setup of federated IT services. Um, we will while we'll talk in detail about it, but one of his leadership philosophies is promotion is the top reward, training is the next best one, and you will see how he has leveraged it to get where he is. So some of the things we will talk about is actively building capabilities. That's where his leadership philosophy comes in. Organizational effectiveness for CIO success. It's not just technical prowess. Innovating with partners, not just getting work done from them. Danda danda danda, get work done. Uh, Criticality of communications for CIOs. I mean, we are very happy talking with fellow CIOs and our fellow IT people. A lot of jargon, but I think let's understand the different nuances of communication that Praveen has learned over time. And I can say, starting from getting into college and struggling with English. So and finally, if you guys just notice the number of companies he has worked in, I think each one of them has been in a different industry, and that's taking risk, right? And coming out of a comfort zone time and again. So we will cover his life story, but the focus of our session will be on the themes of CIO success, innovating, partnerships, communication, risk taking. And I invite all of you to ask him questions and clarifications on. We have a limited time, but we'll try to factor in time for questions and clarifications. So for now, unless you guys are thinking that it's going to be a very, very heavy session, let's get started on a lighter note. So Praveen bhai, tell us your funniest or the most interesting professional moment.
That's a good question, actually, and a good way to start. So, I think because I worked for nearly 35 years, there are many instances where it was very difficult or disappointing, but there are quite a few where it was very, very funny. Now, one incident which I recall, as you asked me, is in our company there was a very famous Parsi gentleman. Okay, and Parsis are known for their intelligence and their vocabulary and all. So, quite a few years back, he was amongst the first victims of email-based phishing. So he got an email from a Chinese so-called lady. We don't know whether a lady or a man, and they were kind of sending him reminders that this particular domain is owned by us. You need to pay ransom. So first he started replying very respectfully, Madam, Mamazol, respected ma'am. So it went on for I think about 3 to 4 weeks. In each mail, the amount of pressure and the kind of demands kept increasing. So finally, he just lost it. So he forwarded the mail to me and he started saying that lunatic XYZ. Then he used some other words. Then he called me and then he gave me an explicit short course on Parsi expletives, which obviously I can't repeat here. But then I went to him and I told her the best way to respond to this person is by not responding. So that was our first exposure to phishing in a real sense. But whenever me and that person then used to meet later, he used to have a very hearty laugh and he used to recall that lady in a typical Parsi manner. So it was good fun.
Yeah, no, I think a couple of things here. One is that I mean, Parsis are very also very courteous and very nice people, and therefore he was responding to them.
Yeah, yeah,
And then he lost it when it was not going anywhere. And then finally, the biggest learning, sometimes the best response is no response at all. And let
yeah,
me
yeah.
tell you, it works in so many other cases. Okay, so
Quite true.
let me make it gender neutral, unless people
Yeah.
call me misogynist. But sometimes that's the best way to respond to your spouse.
Oh, yes.
Don't
True.
respond.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll have more such interesting stuff as we get to know Praveen by much more. But before we start grilling Praveen by, let me acknowledge our audience. We have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary, but not sufficient to drive business performance. The guests on ClariTea Chat, like Praveen Bhai, have built the bridge between the necessary and sufficient with their art of managing technologies, and ClariTea Chat builds that bridge between their learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with technology. So, thank you all for joining us for the last 113 episodes and encouraging us with your interactions and questions. I must say that, sometimes, and I share it with my team, it feels like we should stop, but then something happens. Maybe an encouragement from an audience or somebody writing a LinkedIn message that I love these chats and all, and then we have to park our stop plans and keep going. So let me request everyone out there right now. It feels like it's only me and Praveen Bhai in the room. So once your comments start flowing in, we will know that we are amongst friends, and we have good company. So please mention in the chat in either YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you are. Send us a comment with your name, where you're joining from, uh, and which organization you work for, and I will be bringing it up on the screen, and we'll have good company. To begin with, Amarinder, we have Amarinder Bhai. He is, like as always, the first one to come in, and
Hi,
he's always.
Amrinder.
Hi,
Okay.
Amarinder. Um, is joining us from Bangalore, and thanks Amrinder for being the first one out there. But for everyone who's listening to this conversation, please let us know you're there, and I'll bring up your name here. Okay, so let's move ahead. So Praveen bhai, let's start with, like, a peek into your early life and career. So just tell us about, like, starting from your college, um, and your roles, and how has your career journey evolved.
Sure. And Jagdish, I will try and keep it a little short. So basically, by graduation, I am a mechanical engineer. Okay. Before that, uh, because I just wanted to make a mention of that. I've studied in a vernacular medium. So from 10th to 12th, where I studied in Ruya College, there was a lot of difficulty initially in trying to grasp everything in the medium of medium of curriculum, which was English, straight away from Marathi to English. I struggled, but then gradually I picked up. So recently my boss told me that if you know 3,000 words in English, you are very proficient.
Sorry, Pravin bhai, your audio has got a little worse. Yeah,
Hello.
yeah. Now it's much better. Now it's much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was saying recently, a very senior person in my company told me that if you know 3,000 words in English, you are very proficient. If you know 10,000 words in English, you are Shashi Tharoor. And if you know 30,000 words, then you are very close to Shakespeare. So the point I'm making is the way I actually tried to improve is just by using four-letter word read. So I read a lot. I made myself more comfortable with the language. Then I moved to engineering college in Somaya. After that, I started off with Cable Corporation of India, which was a German company, Siemens undertaking, and I spent about 7 years there. There, I was actually on the shop floor doing projects. I had actually worked in Pete's on installation projects, and I have the interesting part is I have worked very closely with blue collar people, and many people in my team were also union leaders. Okay, so anybody in the audience who's actually worked on shop floor with the union leaders of 19 early 90s, late 80s, they will know you don't need to take any other class in team management or law. Okay, because that's the strength of that learning. You cut your teeth with that kind of experience, and you are very well prepared and groomed for the next phase. So the one advantage with CCA and the relationship with these people was that I was able to take up part-time learning courses. So I did my post-graduation in systems from Jamnal Bajaj. While I did that, I thought that I don't understand anything of finance. So I took masters in financial management from JBIMS because I always wanted to know what I didn't know. After I completed that, in fact, there I had a great mentor, one Mr. S.K. Bhatt, who was my fellow classmate, and he used to kind of instill the interest with a lot of anecdotes, a lot of encouragement, and he used to, kind of inspire me to excel in finance. Okay, so we did that. We both studied very hard. We did very well there. After that tenure of 7 years, I got a break into Gulf Oil India. Gulf Oil is a basically petroleum derivative lubricant distribution, manufacturing and distribution, but it's the key profitability comes from the distribution network. So we got the break to do a distribution management system, depot management system they used to call. So they had about 350 depots all over India. So because I was to deploy systems across the distribution network, I got to travel to every nook and corner of India with a lot of comfort because it was a multinational. So they had very good rules about flights only, this kind of hotels only, so on and so forth. So I have been to places which I'd never heard of before, like Vellupuram. Salem is a large city, but I've gone to extreme south. Then on the northeast side, I've been to places like Dibrugarh. Not many people would want to go there because of the Naxalite influence. I have been in Chandigarh, Punjab, and of course central India, everywhere. So I got the sense of the cultural diversity and the different types of resistance metrics which people have in different parts of India. So I could actually unknowingly, inadvertently, I was picking up on those nuances, which helped me in the long run. After Gulf Oil, I joined Ballarpur Industries. Again, a very large Indian conglomerate. They were into paper, chemicals, gherkins, you name it. They had a vast portfolio of businesses, and there was Gautam Thapar used to lead it, and he used to lead it with a lot of interest. And so he created a department called Business Systems. Okay, so that was a very unique idea of his, where people who understand business as well as IT would form that team. So our first assignment was 3 months on-site assignment with IIM Bangalore on supply chain management. Okay, because Gautam Thapar believed that the competition is not between different companies, but it is between the supply chains of different companies. Okay, that's where there is going to be a competitive difference. So I studied with two great names in supply chain, Janat Shah and Jishnu Hazara. They have written number of books. So we did work which was translated into case study. Interestingly, Built also had a very high profile HR head, Jagdeep Khanpur, and he introduced a talent assessment process with Savile and Halsworth in UK. So we had a level of managers, they call it L5 and above. So there are about 550 managers, out of which 18 were shortlisted at the end of that assessment, and they were taken on different roles on a fast track. So I was one of those lucky ones. So me and a colleague of mine, were then given an assignment to set up a .com venture, egroupdeals.com. So I had a amazing experience of how to start a .com venture. So there I used to present to ICICI Bank for venture capital. I have been talking to the consortium of paper manufacturers. We have been with the printers community and so on and so forth. And Wipro was our technology partner. So I had a very, very deep relationship with Wipro in that phase. However, as it happened, in 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. So Mr. Thapar, as an astute businessman, he said this project should be on hold now. So, of course, then it became a point where we had to decide what to do next. And fortunately for me, Godrej Group happened. Now, Group, interestingly, was just about embarking on their e-business initiatives. Accenture has sold them the concept at 1,000 feet level. They wanted to then deploy it on ground. So they did it across the organizations. They had chemicals business for which they did eCRM, which will kind of interface with its global client. They had mostly global clients across Europe and US. And then they had consumer products, which is soaps, and other synthol and other famous products, hair dye and all. So for that, they wanted to connect their distribution chain with the concept of CPFAR, continuous planning, forecasting, and replenishment. So we would automatically pick up the stock levels and replenish them. Also, they had a very famous intranet called Godrej, again connecting all the employee activities. It became very famous, very successful, and it was won multiple awards. So those were the learnings there. Apart from, of course, they were the first company to set up an information security team and also take initiative. I was again sent to Hong Kong for a training in MIS Institute. Uh, After Godrej, and Godrej is a very, very interesting phase because it was very set, a very good organization, employee caring. I was recognized, I was part of the succession plan. And suddenly, out of blue, one day I got a call from Star TV. And the only thing I knew about Star TV was Kaun Banega Crorepati. Okay, so I said, I do not want to get into this. I would have probably gone into FMCG company and all that. But they said, Mr. Peter Mukherjee would like to meet you. So I said, I have heard of him. He is one of the 25 most influential people across India. And of course, this I'm talking of in 2004. So that time of all this, what we read subsequently, it's a separate thing. Okay. And all the press coverage and negativity, etc. But I have to say, he's amongst the best CEOs I have worked with and the finest bosses I have worked with. That's the fact. So I went just to see him, and then I thought I'll come back and I will say sorry. I don't think I want to work here. So he took a interview, which was not an interview; it was a conversation. So he just called me over, and he said, I just want to ask you, how do you spend your day?" In the entire interview, that is the only question he asked, and then basis that he took the conversation to 2.5 hours. In that, he convinced me that Star TV is the best place to be. Okay. So there was no way I could have said no because he threw me as a challenge and he said, what is the, what are the opportunities? I thought it is worth it. And it was the toughest decision because I was extremely steady and comfortable in Godrej, doing very well. But I still took that risk. I joined Star TV. And, of course, then I got to work with famous personalities like Samir Nair, Peter Mukherjee. Okay, Samir Nair, of course, is the Applause Entertainment, the famous web series which comes, like Scam 92, Scam 2000, all of that. And he's a great guy. So I learned a lot of storytelling from Samir Nair. Okay. And Star TV, in multinationals, sometimes what happens is they are looking at a very, very, uh, if you look at our context, they are looking at a very broad kind of a roadmap. So there again, I would say I was lucky that they had about 2,500 IT employees, out of which they handpicked few for a training program to develop these managers at MIT Sloan's. Okay, so that was very expensive even in those years, 2007. Okay, extremely expensive. And in that, we were supposed to be at MIT Sloan's for 2.5 months, then complete the project, go back and present it to the senior leadership of News Corp. Okay, and News Corp, by the way, is very big. Okay, Rupert Murdoch owned. Of course, a part of it is now sold off and all that, but these days it was very, very active. And there, we again spent 2 months in taking the next course. There were a lot of simulations, a lot of new methodology. So all that I kind of picked up, tried to implement. And then while it happened, and then Hong Kong moved, center moved to India, and so on and so forth. There happened Lintas. Okay, so it was in 2009. Okay, now what happened was, so for me it was an amazing opportunity to see a 360-degree view, because in Star TV, as a broadcaster, we used to focus on the revenue optimization for the prime time Star Plus. Okay, so there will be 500 spots that we'll be worried about. The revenue will come from it. In Lintas, as a media buying aggregator, it will turn to 50,000. Okay, so I'd seen this side, broadcaster, I had seen the consumer sides, Godrej, and now I was looking at the media aggregator and the creative. So I joined Lintas again. Okay, not as diverse a risk as from Godrej to Star TV, but still, it was a move. And there I understood that, behind all the famous ads, whether it is Dag Achhe Hai, What an Idea Sarji, or the Swiggy ads, or Titan ads, or Tanishka ads, there is a very well defined process. There is a very well defined systemic architecture which helps them. Okay. So then we took up in working on different areas. And of course, we, though there is a, in multinationals, normally we are supposed to follow only the global rules, but they were fairly okay to try out few things in India. So we were amongst the first to have a Microsoft case study on their global portal on usage of SharePoint. We used to give Blackberries for a lot of employees. So in year 2011, we were one of the Gartner Group case studies in the symposium. So that was achieved. And post that, IPG, which is the parent company, they started kind of consolidating different services of IPG. Okay. So it was never a dull moment. So from Lintas, then we aggregated other group companies. So today we have about 8 companies, all the famous IPG brands like McCann World Group, Media Brands, FCB Ulka, and CMG, Dextra, and of course MullenLowe Group. All of these are comprising of about 35 offices and having about 6,000 employees in India. We are basically forming a federation where everybody will become one IT team driving one strategy. Also, there is a lot of work for the global parent organization in US, which is being transferred to India as a sense where they see that this is a center of competency. So that's where today we are. Of course, it is we are taking small steps, but we are quite hopeful that we will take it to the reasonably satisfying level.
Sure, sure. That's awesome. So, I mean, very very well and succinctly covered, Praveen bhai. I really loved, overcoming the first challenge of language, and I've kind of kept it like, 4 letter word to learn anything. READ, read.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, learning the team management and law by working with unions, taking the first risk, which is masters in finance, which you hated. So then, learning the India and its cultural diversity and the change management challenges which come with different regions in Gulf oil working industry, and of course learning distribution management in BILT, learning supply chain management, setting up a dot com venture, and then in Godrej, setting up the e-business. Um Most of the people have experienced that. The big four sells you an idea, and then you got to then handle the baby and bring it up. Um, and then this. I mean, I loved the incident about your interview with Peter Mukherjee. So it was
yeah,
actually not that he was assessing you for your capability. I mean, these guys had done their homework, and the interview was actually reverse interview. That means they were selling you the job actually.
But
And
that is a unique experience, I have to say.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But I think there's a very good learning there, that when you're looking for talent, I mean, you don't have to just go out and apply. Sometimes you handpick talent and then you sell the job to them, right? Rather than the other way around, rather than the guy having to sell himself for the job. So fantastic, fantastic. I mean, sometimes I've also done that, where once I know that I need somebody, I've just gone after them, sold them the role, and then brought them in. Maybe that's for like a beer conversation.
Yeah,
uh, then coming and learning the advertising industry and all that, right? So while you were talking about it, the three things that I picked up, one was, and that brings us to our next question, which is like building capabilities, and building capabilities consciously. So if I look at my notes, you actually went to I mean, you did an MBA yourself, then you went to IMB from Build, then Godrej sent you to Hong Kong for sort of an MBA, and then you went. News Corp sent you to MIT Sloan Management Program. So was this all a sort of accidental, that people thought that, hey guys, this guy looks like a good student, let us send him for these programs, or what was it? So how do
yeah,
you
yeah.
describe
Actually, I'll be honest, uh, in my first job in CCI used to get rewarded every year. Okay, so on the fourth year, obviously nobody can get rewarded every year. So monetary reward, I mean. So I did not get a monetary reward. So my boss told me then that the best reward
it? Praveen
is a
bhai,
promotion. Huh?
Praveen, can I suggest something? Can you take away your yeah, earphone and all, and just see if the speaker and the laptop mic works well for you? I'll give you the feedback. Just start on. No, no, I think the mic is not working. You can take the jack off.
Is it audible?
Oh, very well, very well, very well. We can hear you very well. So
Okay, so then this is easier. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Maybe there is some. So
no, no,
I
no.
was saying
What
that
happened was
in the first
what
job.
happened was you're holding the mic like this, and it was coming out. It was actually looking like you're a very shy person.
Oh, that I am actually.
I know that. Mm.
So I was saying, in my first job, there used to be a reward every year, and I thought it's given. Every year you're supposed to get reward, and it doesn't happen in real life. So in the fourth year, obviously there was no scope for getting monetary reward. So my boss told me that the best reward is promotion, of course, or the huge monetary gain. The next best, which will actually get you even better promotions going forward, is training. So I am sending you to Tata Management Training Center, TMTC. I went there and I was completely taken aback by the culture, the company, because you also learn a lot from the people who are with you. In there were a lot of Tata executives, senior executives. I was amongst them on the younger side. So that triggered something in me, which has always remained. So some of the things also is a combination of I was at the right place at the right time, like build. SHL was to happen while I was there. The News Corp had thought that they want to do some development training, but of course, yes, I also showed my inclination and desire with my bosses that I would be interested. I was not shy of asking for training. Sometimes people are shy of asking for promotion. That can happen. But I don't think people have ever actually made a conscious effort that I want to attend a training. Okay, so I have done that uh, unabashedly. Even in the IPG, when they were offering me an expanded role, I actually asked for training. Of course, it happened in COVID times partially, so I had to settle for an online training. Again, I went to MIT as well as Oxford for their fairly longish courses. I've taken certification. So even at the age of 54, 55, I've completed the training courses because there is that learning is a continuous process. I feel we never really feel that you know everything. Again, I might be able to touch upon some of the learnings there. Change management, and some of the stuff in managing corporate relationship. We all do it by way of practice, so we think that's the best way. But unless you expose yourself to some of the external uh, world, or some of the the research, kind of research, quality research they do, there is always something to pick up from them. So I would say,
Absolutely. So guys, I mean, if you also picked on it that this guy has been going to like different, like big world class training institutes, it's not by accident. It's not that somebody's identifying. Now this is what I called in my post as building capabilities. So building capabilities is, I really like that comment, Praveen bhai, that uh, a training will give you better chances of getting promoted in future. So the takeaway is never hesitate asking. You may hesitate asking for a promotion or a raise, but never hesitate asking for a training, because that's
yeah,
what is going to make it an easier path for your promotion. So Praveen bhai, let's move ahead. So the other thing that we share as a philosophy, and we've connected on it at times, that the success of IT should be measured by business results, right? By business success. And now business success is actually an outcome, but what gets you that outcome is your effectiveness as an organizational person who can sort of like orchestrate the relationships and the various systems and processes. So tell us about like how the CIO success is created, not by the technical prowess so much by the organizational
sure.
effectiveness.
Okay, I have some views there. Okay, it's a slightly different view, but again, it is thanks to my training with MIT. Okay, so there is a course on understanding the organization, and how you drive the change management. So end of the day, how are you going to be effective? You're going to be effective if you're able to get some results. Okay, and people who are running the business are very smart, so they can make up. They can obviously identify, yes, this is the change, this is the result, this is the effectiveness. Now, what happens is typically we tend to perceive our organization as a strategic way. It's a hierarchy. Okay, so there is a CEO, there is a CFO, there is a CIO, there is marketing officer, etc. So hierarchy sometimes tends to assume a structure of a machine. Okay, if it was so straightforward, then you just need to plan an initiative and then it gets done automatically. Hierarchy works. What we also need to understand is it is also at a certain level, not in a bad sense, but it's a political contest also. So in political contest, what happens is you have to identify who are the influential people who would need to support the initiative. If you don't identify that, then whatever you are doing, you'll never know why it is not working. There is also a third layer, cultural. Okay, culture is again very much, it is in the DNA of the organization. It's like a habit. People behave in a particular way because that's the way they know it is. Okay, so therefore all the actions originate from the habits. Okay, so unless you try and understand the organization, and you understand, you form a mental mind map of what it is and what I need to do to get effectiveness executed and also communicated to the people who matter. There is a, I think it is always going to be a challenge to cross the bridge between giving a excellent PowerPoint presentation and then making it convert into the dollars or rupees, okay, where you can measure the effectiveness, where you can get the feedback that you want, or get the change. Okay, and change is continuous. For us, there are challenges. There is shadow IT, which most people would know of. Okay, there are new roles coming up. There is a chief digital officer. There is so on so forth. But we have to first understand our own organization. Second part is there is a beautiful concept which was explained to us about network and influence. So they kind of drew a graph about how your network is within your organization also. So if it is, it a cohesive network where you are only internally focused, having deep relationship within your company, or it is an entrepreneur network where you are also externally connected with other partners, suppliers, clients, etc., etc. So there is no right rule for it. but then there is a score which you can draw in terms of how's your strength of the network. That defines your ability to influence the outcome. Okay, so of course, there is no point in looking at a book, taking the network philosophy and then applying it. But even if you use a simple Excel sheet and draw some mind map, it will help you identify why, if the project has not been successful, why it has not been successful. Or if you have a new project in mind, what would you need to do? That is something which will be important. So I think that's in a nutshell, how
Very well said. I would like to, I mean, reframe the takeaways for the audience. I think the biggest one, which actually what happens, just kind of stepping back a little bit. My leaders, they talk like, as if it's business as usual for them, but then they don't realize that they have uttered gems and nuggets of gems, golden words, which need to be repeated to kind of enforce it. So that gem of a of a concept here, which you mentioned, which I want to repeat, is effectiveness is about outcomes. Right? So then, so he said it in the initially, and afterwards, whatever he said is actually like driving outcomes. So a few things that I want to kind of leave as takeaway with the audience is that organization hierarchy is not machines. Okay, so whenever people say follow a what is that there's a name to it, protocols or and all of that, we must know that there are other influencers at work. So there's politics, there are influencers, this culture is now another golden word. Was that culture is like sigma of habits, right? So when you are looking at culture coming against you when you're trying to drive some outcomes, you have to focus on how can you change the habits or how can you form new habits. Sorry if I spoke too much, but these are my takeaways from what you said. Okay. I think the other one you said is cross the bridge from planning to action. There are like great plans, everybody makes great plans and strategies. When it comes to action, people falter. I also call it as like cross the bridge between PPT and Excel, right? So if somebody showed me an just a PPT and he doesn't have an execution Excel where all the planning and all the execution and all the tracking happens, I'm very very suspicious of that plan. So always, so
and
my
also
team used to know that. Sorry, just to finish this, my teams always know that if they're going to be having a PPT, then they better prepare the Excel also before they come to me.
right.
You're
And
saying something.
you actually triggered another observation from my experience. I think again there is a proven study which says that alignment with business is extremely critical. If you have a very good alignment with CEO, CFO, whomsoever is the decision maker, and the IT head CIO, the chances of project getting successful are more than 80%. Okay. And most of the
Absolutely.
top organizations, if you see, if they have made some path-breaking initiative successful, it's only possible when you have that kind of an alignment. If you don't have alignment, whatever is the talent, whatever is the brilliant idea, it's difficult. Also, when you have that alignment, you need to segregate it like a portfolio. Okay, there are some which are required to manage the operations. It is like a plumbing expense. There are some which is at another layer. Okay, it will take part of your investments for doing projects. There are some which are at the top of the pyramid, which are strategic initiatives. Okay, these are like high risk and high rewards. There is a good chance that they will fail, but if you have good alignment with the business, those are the ones which are going to make you a different leader, and your acceptance is going to be very very high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think these layers that you mentioned are also like even from an escalation point of view, not really a hard escalation but a soft escalation point of view. If you're not able to align at one level, then you kind of take the level higher, and so on. So I also have some case studies there. In the interest of time, I will go forward. So
Sure.
the last takeaway was mind maps. I think mind maps is a completely different area. It basically says that don't think linearly, think multidimensionally, create mind maps consciously, whether on paper or whether on PPTs, and then start working in a more
Yeah.
not in a linear manner but a more spatial manner, about how you want your strategies to get executed. So, but great conversation around that, Praveen bhai. Effectiveness is about outcomes, and then you work out how organizationally these outcomes are going to be either accelerated or blocked, and work on those factors.
True.
So, yeah, we are 18 minutes away, Praveen bhai. At this point, let me take some questions here. I have one question from Amarinder. What is that, rapid fire question. So his question is, you were one of the early adopters of enterprise mobility. You mentioned Blackberry, right?
Right.
uh, how does one develop a conviction and takes a risk to be an early adopter? Well, you've also taken a lot of risks, so good question for you.
Yeah. So Amrita, thanks. It's also it again. I like I touched upon it to a large extent. I was benefited because there was an excellent alignment with the business head, CEO. Okay, Charles Cattle. Okay, another part which also helped me there is we've never looked at the supplier partner as only a vendor. So with BlackBerry, we had a very close association with the BlackBerry head of India, Sunil Lalwani, and so we actually got Sunil Lalwani, Charles Cattle, and me in one room in discussing how can we actually take it to the next level. So everybody contributed. Okay, so RIM, Research in Motion, also contributed with certain inputs. We did our bit, and then our CEO did his bit. So because of this concerted effort, we were able to be the early adopter and also drive the usage. That's how we then finally reached as a Gartner case study.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, and I think that in a way, logically sets us up for our next question. Okay. I see one question from Karthik. Karthik, I'll come back to it. Meanwhile, there was one comment from Avinash. Avinash, your comment somehow didn't make it to our chat, flow. There is the connectivity problem between our studio, which is StreamYard, and LinkedIn continues to be there. That means the mobile comments don't flow through. So Avinash had a comment that thanks for wonderful session. I'm calling out to Avinash Badgujar, uh, a partner, program manager with whom I work closely. Thanks for the wonderful session. Hey, thanks, Avinash. Thanks for joining, and thanks for your comment. So Praveen bhai, you mentioned that there was a sort of an ideation session and everybody contributed, including RIM, and that brings me naturally to the next question, which is innovating with partners.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we were talking, I realized that, oh my God, you have really leveraged partners. So one is like, at a base level, you just get things done from partners or get a good discount. At the second level, like, you build some capabilities, and at the top level you innovate with them. I mean, just break
Yeah.
new ground. So what has been the story behind, like, continuously innovating with partners? And it's not one, actually many many innovations you've done with partners.
Yeah, yeah. So again, there is a learning, and this came. It took me many years to reach that learning. It took me more than 20 years to understand this. 20, 25 years. So what happens is we've been groomed all along. Whenever there is a partner proposal comes, we look at page 17, 18, where the commercials are mentioned, or we look at SLAs. We look at some of the timelines. Okay, of course, some of the partners like Microsoft, it's very difficult to understand their pricing. They have a license and pricing team. They themselves sometimes struggle to come up with the appropriate discount. So that's given. We have to anyway invest in Microsoft. We there is no choice. Like, so most times what happens is we focus on the cost parameter. We focus on the timelines, the service level, the legal terms, etc. I thought there is more to it. Okay, so we did bit of study. In fact, my project was on innovation with strategic partners. So there's one thing which I came across and which I didn't know. I will
But
take one.
this was your MIT project, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there, I understood, which I didn't know, to be honest. Okay, so there's no shame in admitting that IBM has a unique program called First of a Kind, FOAK. So what
FOAK.
they do, FOAK, yeah. So what they do, I do believe they're still active, but the I do not know the how far it is in Indian context though. But what they do is they pick up a problem area for an industry. They spend lots of dollars in developing a solution because they have excellent research labs. I had the privilege of visiting some of their research labs across the world. In that, they will kind of develop a solution. The customer also engages in giving functional scopes, needs. Sometimes they would partner in sharing hardware and something like that. But then you are amongst the first one who crack that. Okay, so you take the leverage. IBM of course has their own ways and means of making sure that they generate finances out of it or monetize it, which is fair. But then otherwise those kind of areas, and there are very good examples in healthcare, in radiology, in urban planning, in water management, where they have come up with some output which is based on FOAK. Now we've kind of explored it because I cannot get into more details here, but it would suffice to say that even with large companies, the big four, also there is amazing opportunity to do something which is beyond your EA agreement or your contract. We ourselves have done proof of concept on two technologies, blockchain for advertising industry in one of the high transaction layer. Again, the advantage was because the proof of concept was practically free for us. It was very easy for me to then take the proof of concept instead of a PowerPoint and present to the CFO and the CEO and show them that this actually works, and then scale it up into a typical normal production. Likewise, artificial intelligence. Okay, there is a service which helps you with vision APIs. So what we used to do is we have about 75,000 images. Many of them you would have seen on hoardings, newspapers, etc. So those were lying all around the place. We wanted to tag them. If humanly you have to do it, it will take at least 2 years. So we use Vision API, which automates. And the beauty is that the more images it processes, it becomes more and more intelligent. Then there are different layers. There is Emotion API where it can also pick up if it is angry, sad, happy. Okay, they're coming with new technologies, like there is an Event API where they can actually notice this is a bazaar image, this is the railway station image, this is an airport image. Now we use all of that, generate tags, and then somebody supervises only the tags and adds few things which are required. Okay, and then we've completely kind of repurpose our digital assets. Our That's our biggest asset. Now with that we can repurpose, and we can also reuse. Not only that, there is also reference value learning. Now we are looking at next step where we could hopefully use AI to generate uh, a campaign, okay, based on some of these tools. Okay, but again we have to be very careful on the IP rights, okay, because it's a very gray area currently. Generative AI, you have to be very careful on which tools you're using. The client consent is also very important. So but we're trying that, and the reason we've been able to get this far is because of the partnership with the vendor. Okay, and once they also see this, they are also have been very very supportive, because it opens another door. Because if they have to give reference of something, it's a ready-made case study.
Yeah.
They can say yes, it works.
Yeah. No, I think Praveen bhai, I mean, sorry to interrupt you in the interest of time. I also have a long question from Karthik here, and I don't want to disappoint him. He has come on the show after a long time. He used to be there, and he used to ask some lengthy questions, and I kind of uh, I said something in jest which he didn't like. So Karthik, I went through all the feedback. Don't worry. So I want to definitely bring him in, and I think it is very very pertinent point at which I want to bring him in. But just to kind of like I don't want to not do the takeaways part. See, we say it in ClariTea Chat that 95% of the talent is with partners, and not all of that is just doing like services and programs and all of that, right? A lot of them are like thought leaders, they're trying out innovations, and you actually want to be doing those things with them. The first thing is that you need to know that something like that is happening, and then participate in those programs, where you become the guinea pig, in sort to say, benefit from that, and then they build their capability. You get your first innovator rights, and it's a great win-win. So go beyond, being the lowest cost acquirer of the technology, or like, or the best SLAs and all, and focus beyond that, and that's what takes your partnership to a different level. So Karthik has asked a question to Shri Pravin Savant. How much of cutting edge technology such as UEM, EMM, AI, ML is sensationalist hype, and how can we strip away the fanfare and focus on actually what changes are required to be implemented in IT? I think he has mentioned something about Dhoni ji and all.
Yeah.
That's not complete, so we can skip that. We can focus on the first part of that question.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. So Karthik, thank you, and I also appreciate the detailed explanation of your query. So I think yes, it's a mix of both, but then that's where people like you and me come into picture, to not pick up what is only sensational, and just to focus on what is relevant for us. Okay, that is where you and me uh, are important. Okay, so like I talked about, the blockchain part. I talked about machine learning, image recognition for the image tagging. There are many other solutions available. A lot of people are contacting us that they would use artificial intelligence to solve some of the business problem. We've taken a very deep dive, and where we've convinced that it is not suitable and it's just a bit of glab, and not reality, we refuse them. Okay, a lot of people have come to us selling quantum computing. Okay, so we've said fine, just show us how it will work. Because they just kind of come, and these people are excellent sellers. So they come with, they would sell Eskimo the ice, they say. So you have to be very careful. It's a very delicate thing. Okay, a lot of people have also gone on to cloud
Yeah.
blindly without realizing.
Yeah. No. So Praveen bhai, I just wanted to, like, conclude it. Sorry for taking charge there. So Karthik, I mean, what I get from what Praveen bhai is saying is that, there's no alternative to deep dive, and there's no alternative to proving value without a proof of concept. So,
Yeah.
if you think something is useful, do a proof of concept. You will know whether the challenges are bigger or the opportunity is bigger, right? And I think that's probably the best way. So, Praveen bhai, there are a couple of things that I don't want to miss out on before we call it a day. And by the way, guys, everybody, we have a couple of questions, after which, we are bringing the rapid fire round. So if you have any rapid fires for Praveen bhai, please send them across. Rapid fires could be like, the most inspirational figure, the best book, the best movie, the most favorite actor, actress, whatever business leader, etc., etc. So please send it across while I pick up these two questions. So Praveen bhai, let's make these questions a little bit of rapid fire kind, where, like,
Sure.
give me the top 3 points on the question. So you have some very strong and studied points of view about leveraging communication extensively and thoughtfully, and I think this comes to your with the previous discussion we had on the organizational effectiveness, as well as, like, engaging with partners, and a lot of, and the underlying, theme there remains like, what do you communicate and how do you communicate? So tell us your top 3 thoughts about effective communication.
Yeah, so I will just take one example. If maybe I'm also conscious of the time. So email, okay. Now email is given. Okay, we all use email for practically everything. If we have to communicate, if you want to ask, if you want to put a proposal, everything happens on email. And then in large organization, a lot of people are into in CC. Okay, we actually don't think about how are we replying to email generally. So what I mean by communication is, I don't look at email as simply messaging. You say this, I reply, that's done. Actually, let me spin it around. Think of it as a game of chess. Okay, you're playing a game of chess with somebody, not necessarily opponent, but even if a fellow player, a friend. So when I reply, I don't reply just on the context, I also check what is the matter, what is the subject matter, who are in the copy, etc., etc. And there are different ways in which you will reply, because you have to also think of what is going to be the next response, what is going to be the response from the people in the copy. Is it an escalation? Is it a complaint? Is it a request? Based on that, and me and my team also do this. We think of it, and then we are able to, most of the times, of course, there are surprises every in life every time, but most of the times we are able to control the communication just by knowing how to use email effectively. So that is one part. Okay. Second, of course, PowerPoint presentations, etc. Okay, now this chat, the way we are going, because it's an informal chat, so I've not been able to manage the time well. But in PowerPoint, okay, I have always believed that whatever I have to say, I have to say it in 3 slides. Okay, rest of all is just paraphernalia. Okay, so that is second one. And the third one is, we never get trained in group discussions also, how to manage the meeting, how to control the meetings. And there's a lot of aspect in it, in terms of professional growth. Okay, when you're communicating, how you carry yourself in meetings when seniors are present, how you carry yourself in meetings when peers are present. Okay, there is no book, there is no theory. Okay, you all evolve. But that's something which I'll just leave for the audience to think about, and maybe, take help from Jagdish, because he is the master there.
No, no. But Praveen bhai, thanks. I think I really liked, when Praveen bhai said that, the email is like chess game, where you don't just respond to like, the first move, but when you make your move, you understand what's going to be the next move, then what I will move, then what he will move, and you have like, good chess players always have the next 10 potential moves, and not just one, a variety of moves from both sides, permutations and combinations which they keep in mind when they play chess. So sometimes, you have to look at mail as chess, with your various options open, and be thoughtful about it. Don't be like, don't shoot from your hip on that. So, and I think there was one study which I recall from our discussion, that um, that the CIO success depends a lot on effective communication
Yeah,
with
yeah.
CEO, which I want to miss out
Right,
here.
right,
So,
right.
Praveen
I
bhai,
think that's right. Yeah. So I think that there was a study where the CEO expectations. Okay, so they had to rank. So there, actually, I was totally surprised that communication had a higher rank than even integrity. So that
wow.
underlines how much the communication skills are important. Okay, technology leadership and understanding is okay, but if communication for a CEO is more important than the integrity of a person, I don't think we need to oversell it. It's a necessity.
Absolutely. No, that's a great way to that's a great way to kind of end that topic on communication. So, Praveen bhai, I think, like there were, I was like trying to note down all the places where you said, risk taking, changing something completely, and also tell us a little bit about risk, like how you look at risk. I know you have taken many risks, you have changed industries, you took finance when you were not good at finance, etc., etc. But tell me your personal take on risk.
So I
And
personally do believe,
so much, so many. Were you not afraid at those times?
always I was afraid. I just hide them better than others. So when I moved from, the biggest risk I have taken is moving from Godrej, very steady organization. I personally knew Adi Godrej and Nadri Godrej, so it was the biggest risk. And when I moved into Star TV and I was invited into the executive committee, I couldn't understand the new acronyms, because I was used to SKUs, stock taking units. Then suddenly it changed to TRPs. Okay, so I had to familiarize myself. But I think deep dive, I have always known that no ventures, no gains. If you don't take risks, you are not going to get uh, the rewards. The maximum benefit in the long run, in hindsight, which I've had, is by that one move where I took the maximum risk. But at the same time, I was prepared that it may not just work, and so I had thought of even a backup plan A, B, C types. But fortunately, I never had to get there. But again, it depends on which part of your career you are. I was in mid 40s then, so that time it came very easily. In early 20s and mid 30s, I was even more prone to take more risk. Now at 56, I don't think I'm going to take money risk.
No, but I think what again, one of the gems of the words you said, which I want to latch on to before I end this topic, it is that you may take risk first. No risk, no growth. No risk, no rewards. But then don't take a naked risk. I mean, so when Praveen Bhai said he took the biggest risk, but he had his plan A, B, C ready. So you must take risk, but you must have a mitigation plan for that risk.
Yeah,
What if it doesn't pan out? What will be my option? If there is no option, then you better find an option or don't take the risk. So,
absolutely.
so another rapid fire. I think a lot of rapid fires we have covered, but one which remains is this interesting one about this cherry blossom sales going up by
Yeah, yeah,
20%
yeah.
in November.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what I'm
So,
going to do, Praveen bhai, I need to take a quick bio break. I can't hold on any longer. So I'll put you on the solo layout, and by the time you finish, I promise I'll be back. Okay?
sure.
Yeah. So tell us about this interesting incident
Yeah,
about the shoe polish sale going up in
yeah, yeah,
November.
yeah. So this is a very interesting case, and this is Lintas has a rural marketing division. Okay, and they do great work. Okay, and I happen to develop a project with them called LinScan, which where we use the map of India, GPS systems, and so on and so forth. That's more technical, but what I want to touch upon is a very interesting business case study which they explained to me. They have a knowledge base of certain highlights. So there is goes a case study that cherry blossom always observed that in the month of uh, early November, their sales skyrocket from a certain section in India. Now it is 20 times, actually not 20%, but it is 20 times from the average monthly sales. So they thought this is very unique, and they went into deep dive about what could be the reason, why can't we replicate everywhere else. And when they did the proper study, the reason is absolutely amazing, because in the second full moon in that particular month, in a place in north of India, there is an event called Sonpur Ka Mela. Now, what is Sonpur Ka Mela? Sonpur Ka Mela is the largest cattle fair in Asia. Okay, so thousands of cattle get bought and sold in that Mela. The price of the cattle is directly proportional to the shine of its skin. So what people do is they use cherry blossom to polish the skin of the cattle and then sell it at an advantage. So the 25, 30 rupees, or maybe about 100 rupees if they are the large cattle, that gives them a return of 5,000 rupees price difference. Now, these are the kind of knowledge bits which they had, and we integrated it into the software and so on and so forth. But it was very interesting. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, Praveen bhai, that was a great case study. Again, unless you go deeper into the why, you don't really get there. But that was really an interesting one. So, maybe like before we call it a day, before we go to my revenge question, your revenge question, three things that a leader has to stop doing to make space for his own growth.
Three things that a leader has to stop
Stop
doing
doing.
to.
Stop doing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One is
We
of course. Yeah, yeah.
focused our whole conversation on what all you have to do, right?
So I
But
think
it's
the first is micromanagement. Okay, you can't do micromanagement if you really want to grow. Of course, which means that there has to be a delegation. Second thing is you should be open to feedback. Okay, I have some partners in crime. Okay, the only reason that I have sustained and grown is because I have been open to their feedback. Where if I am making a mistake, they're happy to come and tell me, no, no, this is wrong, and I've accepted it. Okay, and of course, so anybody who wants to grow, okay, of course, you have to delegate, and without having anxiety about how what etc. Second is you should be open, and also the third thing is no, you're asking about stop doing, right? So stop doing is of course not be averse to taking feedback, and also the third thing for my own growth, what I would never stop doing is to stop learning. Even now, for the weekend, which is long weekend, I have a couple of books ordered, which will keep me busy.
awesome, awesome. Okay, so Praveen bhai, I've been asking you all the questions. So what's your question to me? I give my guests an opportunity to take
Yeah,
revenge.
yeah. In fact, it's an honor, Jagdish. I've known you for many years, and of course, now you ventured out. You taken a risk. You formed your own venture. Tell me about how's been your journey. Some of us, if they want to follow your footstep, what would be your guidance?
Um, yeah, so Praveen bhai, when I came out, I mean, in fact, one of the clarity chats, I was asked, "What's your biggest mistake?" And I said, leaving Tata Motors. Okay, I mean, I had built up a function, an organization, a culture, an architecture, and we were ready to take off when I jumped ship. But the next thing that I know is one of the guys who was watching it actually called me and said, "Jagdish, you know what? That mistake, if you wouldn't have made that mistake, clarity chat would not be there."
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Because
So so what I mean is that uh, so it's like mistakes are opportunities. And when I came out from my corporate career, most of the people I consulted said you should not. And I was like, what, age is on my side. I was at 48. I said, if it doesn't work out, maybe next 3 4 years I have a chance to go back. If I do it at 55, I will never be able to go back, right? So but it has been very rewarding. My whole concept at the time was that I have been engaged in transformations after transformation, initially business processes, then technology enabling a set of business processes, and then an entire organization. And my hypothesis was that if transformation is the keyword for me, which actually one of my coaches, he helped me discover that the keyword for Jagdish is transformation. Then why, why look at, let's say, serving with transformation? Why not sell transformation? I think that's panned out. Wherever I have, whichever customers I have worked with, they have been able to achieve that. Of course, there are some misses in terms of not enjoying a large team, a huge office, and and conferences, speakerships, proposals like that come to you every time. But I still get a decent number of them, and I say no to how many you say no to. But it has been a mixed journey, but very humbling experience, and very rewarding, I must say. And I think the best part of coming out has been the clarity chat.
absolutely, totally agree. And I wish you all the best. And I'm very sure because we need people like you to get this kind of communication across. And get it's a great learning for me too, always to interact with you.
Thank you, Praveen bhai. And on that note, we are like almost 9 minutes over, guys. Keep bashing me up on in your feedback surveys and in our one-on-one messages. That Jagdish, you are not able to be at 6 o'clock, but you know what? I get a once in a lifetime opportunity to interview some great leaders like Praveen and many others, and I don't want to sacrifice that part which I want to bring to you just because it's 9 minutes over. And I think that's so that greediness on your behalf is what makes me keep going on, and ignore your survey feedback. So Praveen bhai, we got a survey feedback that your sessions overshoot the 6 o'clock timeline. But I mean, those two questions that were remaining when we were about to shoot that, I said, no, I can't leave Praveen bhai without that. Yeah. Okay. So on that note, thank you everybody in the audience for attending and engaging, and thank you all of those who are watching the recording. Incidentally, Praveen bhai, a lot of them actually they don't watch it on the Saturday evening. They will watch it Sunday afternoon or something like that. But within a week, we see lot many more engagements than what we see live. But
Sure.
nevertheless, the guys who are sacrificing your Saturday afternoon, or maybe a Saturday morning in the East Coast, really appreciate your comments, your questions, your time. And thank you, Praveen bhai, for joining me on Clarity Chat
My
today.
pleasure. Absolute, my pleasure.
Thank you everyone, and we'll be back on next Saturday, which is 6th April. Till then, goodbye and have a great weekend and happy Holi to everyone.
Happy Holi.
I wore this T-shirt for Holi. Go ahead, Vinay.